Mothers-in-law are much maligned and frequently the cruel victims of our family jokes these days. The Bible begs to differ. One of the most beautiful stories in the Old Testament is the life and journey of Ruth and her mother-in-law Naomi. Naomi grieved the loss of her husband and both of her sons. Yet her daughter-in-law Ruth stuck with Naomi through thick and thin. Ruth's commitment to her mother-in-law reflects the soaring heights of divine love experienced within a blended family. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. The flip side of the story is that Naomi proved to be a wise and faithful mother-in-law to Ruth. It was her sage advice and coaching that enabled Ruth to become the wife of Boaz and eventually the great-grandmother of King David. The miracle story from Mark today puts forward another positive portrayal of a mother-in-law. It is a simple story told in low key without flourishing details. A breath of homely warmth blows through this brief narrative this morning. The storyline running up to this story last week begins in the synagogue in the town of Capernaum at the northwestern shore of the Sea of Galilee. Jesus was teaching, and the people who heard it were amazed. He taught with authority and authenticity. And the people were more amazed because evil spirits came out of a man in the synagogue, just as Jesus taught. But exhausted by this experience, Jesus left the synagogue and went straight to the home of Simon Peter and Andrew. If you visit Capernaum today, there are ruins right outside the synagogue in the town that many people believe to be the apartment complex where Simon and his family lived. It dates back to the 1st century, the ruins. Jesus left the synagogue and went straight to this household. You don't blame James and John for tagging along, because they were looking for a good meal too. They were all looking forward to a leisurely Sabbath dinner and some quiet moments of much-needed relaxation. But the events that followed showed the day had hardly begun for our Lord. No sooner did he arrive at the home of his disciples than Jesus is confronted with a concern demanding his utmost attention. Simon's mother-in-law has taken to her bed with a fever. There's been a lot of that going around these days. Despite his exhaustion, Jesus does not hesitate, but immediately goes to her, takes her by the hand, and lifts her up. It's the same Greek root word here as resurrection. Simon's mother-in-law is healed at once. She rises from her bed, and then she waits upon her guests gathered at her home, a good sign that the fever had left her. Brothers and sisters, notice Jesus is performing a miracle within the intimacy of a family environment. Here we see Jesus making a house call. It should be a great comfort to us that this little miracle happens in a home. We are so apt to think of Jesus Christ present in the gathered congregation on Sunday morning, making himself known through word and sacrament. Of course he is. This is most certainly true, as Luther used to say. But the problem lies in our mentality, which believes that Jesus has little time and care to be anywhere else on earth. But pay close attention to the promise in this miracle story, brothers and sisters. Jesus is actively present in the midst of ordinary life. He is where we live, in a home. He is where our greatest needs for healing arise, within our family relationships and responsibilities. Jesus comes to where we are. Jesus makes pastoral visits to our homes. This miracle brings us into touching distance with our compassionate Lord, for it takes him out of the ecclesiastical setting and the complex definitions of doctrine and places him firmly at the center of our daily lives, every single aspect of them. The man filled with unclean spirits in the synagogue last week had a big problem. He was possessed by a vicious demon. Peter's mother-in-law, on the other hand, as many scholars believe, may have had only a bad cold or a touch of bronchitis. This miracle story and the continual healing ministry of the church assure us that there is no need so small as to slip through the faithful fingers of God. Therefore, brothers and sisters, I implore you, trust God not only with the big stuff, but also with your small daily struggles and joys as well. Now, I don't think Jesus cares about whether the Eagles win tonight or not, but I think he does care about this occasion as being a time for quality relationships with our families in our homes as we celebrate and converse with one another. Trust God not only with the big stuff, but also the daily small things as well. Trust God to be a healing presence in the joy, sadness, and dilemmas within your very own households. Jesus comes right where you are. Jesus comes to where you are bringing to bear a healing hope for body, mind, and spirit. Indeed, Jesus makes house calls. Thanks be to God.